ID, call forwarding, call waiting, and call blocking.
I think it's time you cut the blue wire.
Cut the blue wire. Save up to $250 on your phone features with RevVoice. Get RevVoice. Save money.
Good evening, Bahamas. Coming up tonight, the possible damaging effects the Panama Papers may have on the country. Are Bahamians ready for a national lottery? And more funds go toward the fight against Zika around the world. Welcome to our news. I'm Christina McNeil. Thanks for joining us. Topping news tonight, the head of the Bahamas Chamber of Commerce is giving his views on the details concerning the Bahamas revealed in the Panama Papers. But as Pakisha Parker Edgecombe reports, a greater concern is also being expressed.
Offshore banking, the financial sector, confidentiality. These are just a few of the areas in the country in which questions are now being levied, particularly following the release of the Panama Papers. President of the Bahamas Chamber of Commerce, Edison Sumner, believes, however, that the moment which now presents itself must be seized.
But as a jurisdiction, I think it's important for us to demonstrate leadership in this instance, and not to take the offensive, or not even to be defensive, but simply to come out and say, the Bahamas is a compliant jurisdiction. The Bahamas is advanced in our approach to how we handle confidential information, how we deal with the assets of our clients in this jurisdiction. Because the one thing you do not want happening is for there to be a flight away from the Bahamas, away from the jurisdiction, because of the fear that information that you've been entrusted with cannot now be trusted.
According to Sumner, the entire issue also brings into focus a greater concern, which has to do with the protection of confidential information.
Now, we all know that international people come to these financial centers for certain levels of confidentiality, wealth management, and asset protection, etc. It doesn't mean necessarily that these financial centers are engaged in money laundering, right? It means that in a lot of cases, a wealthy individual, someone who we call a high net worth individual, might be seeking to protect his assets.
While the international media now has the work of many offshore banking entities in the region under the microscope, Sumner says that the Bahamas must not fall to pressure.
We cannot get into a situation where the international community, whether it's the G8 countries, G5, G6, G whomever, and all the other international agencies are bringing a hammer down on the international financial services centers when it is their citizens who are the ones benefiting the most from the services that are being provided.
Reporting for our news, I'm Pakisha Parker Edgecombe.
Well, that leak of data through the Panama Papers has had a far-reaching impact, particularly for the Bahamas and other offshore banking hubs. This as claims made in the confidential documents detail names of key stakeholders in more than 214,000 offshore companies and tax dollars which they allegedly seek to hide. Shadow Minister of Finance with the Free National Movement, Peter Turnquest, says the leak has dealt the country another blow.
The papers that were just released indicate no wrongdoing on behalf of the Bahamas as a jurisdiction. However, it does deal another black eye to offshore financial services jurisdictions as a whole, because it does lend into the argument or the position being put forth by these developed countries that somehow their tax dollars or dollars that they're entitled to tax are being secreted away in these offshore financial services jurisdictions. I don't support that idea, obviously. We are a legitimate jurisdiction providing financial services to wealthy clients throughout the world every day. And we do so in a transparent manner, we do so in a confidential manner, and we do so with professionalism.
While the Bahamas may be among those nations now in the spotlight, Turnquest says he does not support the idea that offshore companies are not complying with international standards. This while calling for the government to step up.
We have to be careful that the words we speak line up with our actions, that we understand the value of this business, we understand the sensitivity of this business, as it is a major income earner for a lot of our professional people here in this country, and is a major contributor to our gross domestic product.
And a little later, we'll have the deputy leader of the Democratic National Alliance who gives his take on the leak. In other news, last week, local numbers house Island Luck launched its Quick Draw product, which it describes as the first ever Bahamian live drawing lottery game. The CEO of Island Luck, however, is shying away from calling it a lottery. But how does the public feel? Our Stephen Hanna has more.
Presently, new gaming legislation does not make allowances for live drawings. With this in mind, we took to the streets to find out Bahamian opinions on lotteries.
Every country in the world have a lottery. Every country, the United States, go right to Florida, got a lottery. You can't go to the food store, that's a lottery in the food store, lottery in the gas station.
I don't support gambling whatsoever. But these people seem to do what they want to do.
You see, the United States, they never got they at least ain't got to go on the side road, aqua pure water jug, and big $1 from this one, $1 from the next one.
I do feel that a lottery should be legalized in the Bahamas because it would help boost the Bahamas' economic value as well as create more jobs and hopefully boost the economy as a whole.
But are Bahamians concerned about the lack of legislation dealing specifically with live drawings?
That's indicative of the whole government road. Ain't nothing regulated. Ain't nothing regulated here. Everything is willy-nilly.
It does concern me because that implies that anyone can do it.
For something to be legal, I feel there should be legislation governing it.
Regardless of their position on lotteries, the people we spoke to seem to share the sentiment that if lotteries are going to exist, they shouldn't be a private venture.
It should be a government-established lottery.
People can buy numbers whether you legislate it or not. The government might as well do it and get the relevant proceeds from it.
Now it's time for the government to get involved and have a national lottery that they get the money. You understand? They get the proceeds from it to help with at least with school, paving the road and stuff, and stop taxing the poor people.
If you allow something to happen and you don't correct it, it then becomes legal.
Stephen Hanna.
Internationally, the Obama administration announced today that federal funds left over from the fight against Ebola will be transferred to the fight against the Zika virus. The administration expects to send 75% of the $600 million to the Centers for Disease Control. The CDC will use the funds to research and develop anti-Zika vaccines, treat people infected with the virus, and fight the mosquitoes that spread the virus. The rest of the money will go toward fighting the virus overseas. Researchers believe there may be a link between Zika and a debilitating neurological birth defect in which a baby's head is too small, as well as other serious complications. U.S. President Barack Obama asked for $1.9 billion in emergency funds to fight Zika back in February, but the request is stuck in the Republican-controlled Congress. After the break, the Democratic National Alliance is concerned about what the Panama Papers mean for the Bahamas. Stay with us.